Yeah, guys, welcome to another edition of our weekly Ask Bo wrap up. And let's just start this week. With just inviting people in and allowing people to just join. And yeah, if we could start off the segment with potential partnerships. And Bo, yeah, if you could go into that.
Yeah, cool. Hopefully everyone's had a great week. First of all, just kicking off just with maybe a little mini recap. The team is working really hard behind the scenes to get everything sorted for a couple of points that I'm sure we'll talk to today, just around PancakeSwap and the bridge as well from a transfer perspective over to BSC. So they're two really big items, but yeah, the work doesn't stop in terms of partnerships and how we're looking to put our footprint into the ecosystem. So I think I mentioned last week, but we will be announcing our Oracle provider and co-marketing partnership with that provider to get the most and the maximize or being able to maximize that relationship. There is some conditions around being on mainnet. So as CryptoPool will be the first proponent of our Oracle provider, the announcements and co-marketing activities will be around the launch of CryptoPool mainnet. So I think I mentioned also last week, but we aren't going to go just with a sort of a medium article and a standard tweet with this. There is a benefit for both parties from an Oracle provider perspective. So that one is definitely one that will be announced and it's locked in. It's done and dusted, except the direction is to announce as we have mainnet for CryptoPool go live. So you'll see that happening. The other two, so once again, I think I've mentioned, but we have our PR and marketing partner for our esports venture, effectively, which is BIG Esports out of Melbourne. We also have Zani has done an amazing job this week to get us onto the other side of the world with a collaboration between a really big group in Brazil that basically provide conferences and marketing outreach strategy and execution for the Latin America market, and are the biggest agency to do so. So we'll be finalising a arrangement with those guys as well, and we'll be able to actually start to hit the market from a global perspective. So if we think about our partnership with BIG Sport, the esports in Melbourne, crossing off the Asia Pacific region, and then the pending arrangement with our new partnership as well, from a Latin America perspective, we're probably then mainly got the subcontinent, sort of India and those sorts to actually penetrate to get a really strong grasp on, where we think the predominant markets for esports are, and also have the highest usage of crypto as well. So we are looking at it from all angles and really looking from a global approach, particularly from an esports perspective. So they're the two biggest ones, and that's pretty new in the sense of the esports in Latin America and the representation that we'll have there. Some things that have already come up are invitation and partnerships for conferences throughout the world next year, as Transient sort of partners and collaborates with those guys, and that will obviously be amazing for our brand, not just in the esports community, but clearly throughout the blockchain ecosystem as well. And what you'll see, particularly as we lead up to PancakeSwap and post that through the BSC network, is a collaboration through some of the big publications and communities that obviously from a BSC perspective. So BSC Daily, BSC Army, and all these types of arrangements that are being worked through. And you'll see a schedule come out, hopefully over the weekend, where we've locked in AMAs, we've locked in publishing, we've locked in PR to ensure that we really hit the ground running from a BSC perspective as well. So as the dev team is continuing to build and build and build, the marketing guys and particularly from a partnership perspective, we continue to drive that forward as well. Really exciting times.
Yeah, more and more partnerships are being locked in, and especially Asia with the esports and just gaming in general and how big that's getting. So, just for the people who haven't heard of BIG Group, could you share more on that and who they are? Because it's huge.
Yeah. So the Melbourne one or the Latin America one? They're
The
actually both
Melbourne one.
BIG.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, the
cool.
Melbourne one.
Yeah, coincidentally, they're actually both BIG as acronyms, so it's going to make it a little bit confusing for us to deal with, but that's okay. Yeah, so Chris Smith, the CEO, is an ex-pro gamer. So he has been in there. He was at the height of the entry into the mainstream and has effectively now gone into ambassador roles across Asia Pacific as well as throughout the world through India with the actual creation and sponsorship of esports teams throughout those demographics. So everything from activations, to creation of esports teams, to tournaments, to competitions. That will be as well as our new partner, they'll be the entry point for us to be co-branded title tournaments with Transient and AAA games. Gives an opportunity to utilize the top influencers from an esports, gaming, and crypto perspective, and really gives us a stronghold on the market from an operational perspective in terms of how we can give back to the esports and gaming community through what we'll be building for them through tournament dApps and also team management dApps. So really democratizing the world of esports. A lot of, or not a lot, but there are varying cases of, fraudulent activity and players taking weeks or months to actually receive funds as a driver from esports tournaments and or not receiving their funds at all. So Transient will be extending the esports, entertainment dApp, let's call it that, into also a functional operational dApp, which solves some of those problems. So definitely many opportunities that we have within that to span out. And also just Chris Smith himself is a very highly connected individual. And you can see that through his penetration of his LinkedIn and Twitter and social posts around the sorts of clientele that he's working with. The chief revenue officer of FaZe Clan, lots of tier A influencers. He's got the CEO of Blockchain Australia on speed dial, and has been an amazing help to me to actually connect me with those guys to really take the conversation of Transient to the next level. So yeah, the opportunity to partner with those guys, and already the benefit we're getting is second to none.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And a lot of the community is asking what the difference is in comparing the esports dApp with the crypto pool dApp, and how do they work together? Are they completely separate? And just could talk more on that.
Yeah, so I think the great thing about Transient and the reason why we can scale dApps pretty seamlessly is because the principles remain the same. So you have a smart contract that you want to create, you have a decision point, and then you have an outcome. So the actual principle of each of the dApps are relatively similar. However, the use case and obviously the journey is differentiated. So when we look at esports and crypto pool, they both have the same principle of predicting an outcome and then sharing and distributing the winnings of that pool. So they're alike in that sense, but we do think they are two separate markets. So from a crypto pool perspective, we think it's heavily crypto first. We think there's opportunities for mainstream interaction, but really look to understand that there is a big opportunity within the current conversation happening in the crypto space today. You only have to jump on Twitter or Telegram or any of the groups that you'll be following to understand price is a massive talking point, and we feel that we can integrate ourselves into that via crypto pool. Esports, on the other hand, is where we think is really our first step into the mainstream. So we're talking about people that would generally only consume content from an esports perspective in a traditional means. So they would either be following on Twitch and they'd be having a community engagement via their instant messages across Telegram, etc., etc. And they may be betting in fiat through a sportsbook provider. What we will do and what we'll get the assistance of our partners to work with us in terms of activating is that we will look to migrate those users that are already using sports betting applications or websites, as well as consuming the content that they'll be consuming through tournaments, official feeds, etc., and centralizing that into the Transient Esports app to convert into a crypto usage. So to be playing and to be participating on the esports platform for Transient, you'll be required to have TSCT for all interactions. So for the main goal for us is to convert those that are already engaged in the process. And if someone is already a crypto user and has a high usage of gaming, esports, and crypto, we find that that demographic is going to be one that we can convert a lot easier than going from a demographic with no crypto experience. And that's why we think places like India, Brazil, even Australia is getting a little bit more mainstream in this sense, are the areas that we really want to target to be able to bring this to life. So they are a little bit different, but in principle, they have the same foundations. And for me, it's really important to keep those consistent foundations because it then allows us to extend even further. So I've spoken about it before, but their same data streams and the opportunity to expand out to traditional sports is actually quite seamless. It would be basically licensing that we would need to work on, which obviously is a mean feat, but technologically, we have the opportunity to extend quite seamlessly. The APIs and the on-chain data that we'll be consuming have the opportunity to broaden us straight into NFL, NBA, soccer, football, whatever the sport will be. The foundations and the structure of the data remains consistent and allows us to scale really, really quickly when and if we want to. As I've said also before, we want to be able to make sure that the experiences are awesome, first and foremost, on the platforms that we're building now, and utilize the momentum that we get from the activations across all of our dApps to really have a big bang for esports, reassess, and then look to extend not just to the sort of the sports betting side, but also what may be in the future around the metaverse and NFTs. NFT price prediction is one that I'm fascinated about. To be able to extend that in the same principle as we would for CryptoPool today wouldn't be a massive feat, but it will provide us a massive opportunity. So yeah, there's plenty that we will look to extend. But it's just about getting this first one right, being able to execute, showing the community an awesome experience, and then building from there.
Yeah, a lot of partnerships were dropped today, a lot of breadcrumbs, and the community has been asking about Gpool and if there are any partnerships or just anything around that.
Gpool, not specifically. I think with all of our call them our partners that we've worked with, whether it's our PR guys, whether it's our security partners, whether it's our influencers that we use, whether it's our Gpool and Launchpads, Lemonade, there will always be that connection of being able to share IP and intel around the best experiences and technology for our each of our objectives. So there's no difference with Gpool than anyone else. But what I think we will see is, particularly from a usage of Transient TSC core, is something that we will really drive heavily with our engagement of our vendors and our services going forward. So talking to the Gpool team and talking to the Lemonade guys, the opportunity for them to start facilitating, whether it's IDOs, whether it's raises, whether it's token drops, whether it's the raising of funds, can be facilitated through TSC core. So from our perspective, we see that as a really big opportunity where it gives the consumer and those participating in a type of an IDO and a raise, for example, the ease of being able to utilize TSC Core, not having to worry about those emails in your mailbox and the copying and pasting, whether it's a BSC or a ETH address, being able to do that in the central point of TSC Core, both from a launch pad in this example and from the consumer or the investor, is a massive opportunity, I think, for our immediate network. So you'll start to see the transaction volume increase due to being leveraged by our vendors. So that's one opportunity that we think is there, and it's there now, and we'll start to really leverage that in terms of our immediate partners that we deal with. As I said, whether that's influencers that we're working with, whether it's security auditors, TSC Core has been built for a reason, and it's now time to take advantage of it, and we have the partners to be able to move that forward for us. And that's the best sort of customer you can ask for, because they're going to give you feedback. They're going to be able to give you real-time usage, and we'll be able to build a better product from that. And we'll use our immediate partners as much as possible. And we're always open for partnerships and engagements and collaboration. I think the ecosystems that are built around this sorts of market and capability thrive on being able to share information and move each other forward. And I think that you can continue to see that for Transient, and I'm sure its immediate partners as well.
Yeah, it's a heavy focus on our side, and just a question on dates and timelines. So PancakeSwap was brought up a lot, and the CryptoPool official launch date for mainnet.
Yeah, so first of all, just in terms of PancakeSwap, so I think I may have read a couple of messages just around PancakeSwap. So the listing and the token wrapping, truthfully, are pretty breezy sorts of things to do, and you could probably turn it around in a couple of days. What you can't, or what we haven't turned around in a couple of days, and what we've completed development on is the bridge to be able to get those tokens from ETH over to BSC. And we thought that was a prerequisite for getting onto PancakeSwap, particularly for our investors that we have today, and those that have been with us from the beginning, to ensure that there's a seamless transition for those that want to utilize the BSC network before we list on PancakeSwap. So that is development complete, and we're now awaiting the security audits to be finalized. And that's the last prerequisite within the BSC bridge DApp, effectively, that we're waiting for to be able to push into PancakeSwap. So we don't think there'll be any change of date for that. I've said the end of the month, and that's still about 10 days away. It will be before that. And the next tick, once we get that from the security auditors, will be mainnet. So we'll be looking to get the bridge out first, and then subsequently through listing post that. We also want to make sure that we learn from we'll take an opportunity from our learnings from our previous approaches. And what we want to make sure we do is that when we are listing on PancakeSwap, and particularly either side of the list, we want to ensure that we're leveraging and amplifying our position across our socials, across our networks, and across our marketing to ensure the buzz and the vibe continues to stay around. So we're also very mindful that we want to ensure that the dates and the activations that we have planned are also going to give us the maximum value around that. So that's being worked through at the moment with the view of the end of the month, and we continue to look to hit that. What that does mean, though, for CryptoPool, which was due for the end of the month, is that we need security audits to take place. So whilst we'll continue to push CryptoPool as much as we can, I do expect a very slight delay, and I should know more early this week around exact timings of that. But I don't anticipate it to be any more than a fortnight or 2 weeks from PancakeSwap. So there will be time, and once again, we want to ensure that we don't sort of just pile everything together. We need to be quite strategic around how we bring that to the community, given that it is a brand new community, and the proposition of CryptoPool is very different to TSC Core, and I think we've spoken about that at length. So we need to be understanding of that. and ensure that once we do look to go live and get it onto mainnet, we have the activations before and after to ensure a successful launch. So I think I'll have definitive dates in the next week once the security audit's been completed for the bridge, and then from there we'll lock that in. But I anticipate at this stage probably a 2-week delay on that.
Yeah, we've
It's
had a
just
really
all the more time to continue to hype and get the message out, which Zanny and obviously yourself, Amira, have been working on the activations to really ramp that up in the next few days, which really pleases me because there's been a lot of hard work going on in the last 7 to 10 days, and we'll start to see that come to fruition through activations and obviously conversation and publicity across many networks.
Yeah, again, just more conversations are being had on Discord and Reddit, and people talking about the price action. So CryptoPool is going to be huge, and for the community to keep an eye out on our socials and just the breadcrumb news that we're going to continue dropping. And if you have any last things you want to leave.
Yeah, so I think that's our main focus. So security audit's done. We want to tidy that up as soon as possible. We want to get if it's the opportunity is there to list before, and we think we've got enough runway, then we'll do that. We'll communicate to the community, but we want to ensure that we're amplifying it with our activations, which we have, and we want to ensure that CryptoPool gets the air space that it deserves to ensure that's also successful. So a little bit of a balancing act, but we think particularly as we hit a new market in the BSC sense, and the work that particularly Zanny is doing around the activations on that side, I'm pretty excited for the next couple of weeks leading up to both PancakeSwap and then CryptoPool. We're going to have some big competitions, and I think keep an eye out on our socials. We'll be looking for a CryptoPool. Our first warm up will be most likely a minimum prize pool of 5,000 USD worth of TSCT. So Zanny will be listing the details hopefully in the next 48 hours, and there'll be some rules around that, but some really big prize pools even before we get onto mainnet that will be there for the community to take a hold of. So really excited about that, and I think even before we get to mainnet, the types of competitions we'll be running for testnet will be enough to bring holders in by itself. So keep an eye out for socials. We'll have details very soon, and we can really start getting stuck into some predictions and putting our mouth these prices that we all think we know.
Yeah, $5,000 just as a teaser to what's to come. And thank you everyone for joining us on these weekly wrap-ups. So we're going to be opening the floor up in the next when we start getting on Discord. And yeah, that's all we have for this week. And yeah, thank you so much, Beau.
Awesome. Stay safe, everyone. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Great night. Ciao.